Dictatorships are governments that take away your rights and freedoms. And though they might promise you safety or some other benefit in exchange, life under a dictatorship is never good. In this video, we go in to look at 8 signs that will help you spot a dictatorship before it's too late. You'll want to stick around for no. 8, because it's something dictators often don't want you to know. So let's get into it. Starting with number 1, how people behave towards each other. In a dictatorship, there is no freedom of speech. People have to watch what they say, not only to avoid angering the authorities, but also to protect themselves from possible retaliation by other citizens. This is because the state has the power to punish those who oppose it and its policies. This means that in a dictatorship, you can't speak your mind freely or criticize the government without fear of serious consequences. You also can't trust anyone because you never know who might be working for the state and watching what you say. Additionally, propaganda is used to control the flow of information and shape the public's perception of the government and its policies. This creates a climate of fear and mistrust, where people are afraid to speak out against the government or even discuss controversial topics. For these reasons, one of the first signs that a country is becoming a dictatorship is when people start to be afraid to speak their minds or express their opinions. The government may crack down on dissent and silence those who oppose its policies. Additionally, people may be too afraid to speak out against the government or to defend those who are being oppressed. This climate of fear and repression is a hallmark of a dictatorship. No. 2. The type of people attracted to a dictatorship. Another sign that a country is becoming a dictatorship is the type of person who is attracted to this way of government. Dictatorships thrive on fear and control, and so it attracts individuals who enjoy having power over others. These types of people are often willing to do whatever it takes to maintain control, including silencing dissent and oppressing their own citizens. In addition, dictatorships often attract individuals who are charismatic and able to manipulate others. They use their charm and persuasive abilities to gain the support of the population and maintain their grip on power. Some people are drawn to the order and stability that a dictatorship can bring. They believe that a strong leader who is not afraid to make tough decisions is necessary to keep society functioning smoothly. However, this stability is often achieved through oppression and the suppression of individual rights. It's important to note that not all leaders who exhibit these traits are necessarily dictators. However, if these traits are present, it is important to remain vigilant and ensure that the leader is not abusing their power and that the government is not becoming a dictatorship. No. 3. Who their allies are. Dictatorships tend to form alliances with other authoritarian regimes. This is because dictatorships rely on maintaining control over their own populations, and they view other authoritarian regimes as potential allies in this effort. By forming alliances with other dictatorships, they can share intelligence, resources, and tactics for suppressing dissent and maintaining power. Additionally, dictatorships often pursue alliances with countries that have a history of aggression and expansionism. This is because dictatorships are typically characterized by a desire for power and control beyond what is available within their own borders. They may seek to expand their influence and power by forming alliances with other aggressive countries and engaging in military action. For example, Nazi Germany formed alliances with Fascist Italy and Imperial Japan during World War II to pursue their aggressive foreign policies and territorial expansion. Similarly, the Soviet Union formed alliances with communist regimes in Eastern Europe and Asia during the Cold War to spread communism and create a buffer zone against the West. It is important to note that not all alliances between countries are indicative of a dictatorship. However, if a country forms alliances with other authoritarian or aggressive regimes, It is a sign that the country may be becoming a dictatorship, and it is important to remain vigilant. Know, 4. What their history is. A country's history can be an indicator of whether it is becoming a dictatorship. Countries that have a history of authoritarian rule or military coups are more likely to become dictatorships because the institutions and culture may be more susceptible to this type of government. For example, countries that have experienced colonialism may be more prone to dictatorship, because the legacy of inequality and oppression can lead to instability and resentment among the population. Additionally, countries that have a history of civil war or conflict are more likely to become dictatorships because the breakdown of law and order can create a power vacuum that authoritarians can exploit. A country's economic history can also indicate the potential for dictatorship. Countries that experience rapid economic growth, followed by severe economic decline, may be more vulnerable to authoritarian rule, because the population may be looking for a strong leader to restore order and stability. Furthermore, countries that have a history of corruption and inequality are more likely to become dictatorships because the lack of trust in government institutions and the perception of injustice can lead to instability and support for authoritarian leaders. Know, 5. How they treat minorities. When a country begins to embrace a dictatorship-style government, it often becomes apparent in how the regime treats minority groups within the population. Authoritarian leaders often target minorities, both physically and politically, as they attempt to consolidate their power. They may use scapegoating to direct negative feelings within the populace towards a minority group, accusing them of crimes or problems that are not of the minority's making. This can result in violence and discrimination against the targeted minority. Additionally, dictatorships often try to erase the cultural identity of minorities within their borders. This can include suppressing their language, religion, and other aspects of their culture. The goal of this is to create a more homogeneous society that is easier to control. For example, Nazi Germany persecuted Jewish people, gays, and other minorities, while the Soviet Union suppressed the cultural identities of ethnic minorities in an attempt to create a uniform Soviet citizen. No. 6. The role of the military. The role of the military in a country is another sign that a country is becoming a dictatorship. In a dictatorship, the military is often given a significant amount of power and authority. This is because the military is seen as a key tool for maintaining control and suppressing dissent. A large military budget and a powerful military can be a sign that a country is becoming a dictatorship. When the military is given a large budget, it is often at the expense of social programs and other areas that promote the well-being of the population. Instead, the money is used to purchase weapons and to fund military operations. This can create a cycle of violence and oppression as the military becomes more powerful and is used to crack down on dissent. Additionally, a large and powerful military can be a sign that a country is preparing for war or other aggressive foreign policy. This is because a strong military is seen as a tool for projecting power and dominance on the international stage. No. 7. The state of the economy. The state of the economy is another sign that a country is becoming a dictatorship. In a dictatorship, the economy is often controlled by the government, and businesses are heavily regulated. This is done in order to maintain control over the population and to ensure that the government's policies are followed. A command economy is when the government sets prices and production quotas for businesses and has a strong influence over what goods and services are produced. While this type of economy may seem appealing to some who want more control over the economy and greater equality, it ultimately leads to inefficiency and stagnation. The lack of competition and innovation that occurs in a command economy leads to a lower standard of living and less economic growth. Additionally, the government's control over the economy can lead to corruption and cronyism as the government uses its power to benefit its allies and supporters. And finally, number 8, what they don't want you to know. Last but not least, a key sign that a country is becoming a dictatorship is when the government tries to hide things from its citizens. This is because dictatorships rely on maintaining control and power through secrecy and deception. When the government tries to hide information from the public, it is often doing so to maintain its grip on power. For example, dictatorships often try to hide evidence of human rights abuses or other atrocities committed by the government. They may also try to hide information about the economy that could cause panic or unrest among the population. Additionally, dictatorships often try to control the flow of information by suppressing independent media outlets and censoring the internet. This allows the government to shape the narrative and prevent the public from hearing alternative viewpoints or information that could challenge the government's authority. It's important to stay informed and be aware of any attempts by the government to limit your access to information. If you notice that the government is trying to hide things from you, it may be a sign that it is becoming a dictatorship, and that it is important to take action to protect your rights and freedoms. While this list provides a starting point for recognizing the warning signs of a dictatorship, it's essential to stay informed, engaged, and critical of those in power to ensure the protection of your rights and freedoms. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out this playlist for more videos like this one. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.